Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video, and in this one I want to share with you all some of the tricks that I've learned in Delta Force over the past couple of months of playing it that may not be too apparent or obvious, at least they weren't to me, and when I found out about these I was kind of blown away that these were even in the game. The game doesn't tell you them at all and you sort of just have to figure them out for yourselves, so I figured I'd share the trouble just on the off chance that you don't know about some of these. As always guys, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed. There will be plenty more Delta Force to come here in the future. I'll be keeping my eye on the game. And as always guys, thank you so much for your ongoing support. Okay, so first thing for me is something I get asked about in almost every video, and that is, Ghost, why are you canting your weapon all the time? So you may not know that if you have a laser on your gun, then you can cant your weapon. I think the keybind for this is N on the keyboard, which basically controls the zoom, and it also controls between going from your optic to canting with your laser. The thing is that you don't really lose any accuracy for canting with the laser, or very little accuracy. So as a bit of a demonstration here, we have the SMG-45, one of the most accurate builds in the game, and I'll leave a link to this one down below if you're interested in the build itself. If we cant to the side, you can see that this is still an absolute laser beam. Now you may say, well, what's the point canting to the side? Well, it's twofold. First of all, you gain a lot more screen real estate. You don't have the optic, the frame of the optic, obscuring what you're aiming at, right? Which is kind of nice and liberating, to be honest. But it also has lightning fast ADS speed. Now that may not matter too much for a weapon like this, which already has pretty good handling. But if we back out here and we go and take an LMG with the engineer here, this has a very, very slow ADS speed here due to the low handling that I have on this build. But if we cant the weapon, like, it's lightning fast, and now we can just go running around and sort of gunning everybody down as if this is some sort of crazy SMG with a 120 round magazine. I mean, you're not really going to want to use it at extreme ranges. You probably do still want to aim with your optic, so it's not like a one-stop solution. You are going to still have to use your optic, but if you're running around at these sorts of ranges, canting your weapon is really my favorite way to play the game at the moment. I kind of think it's a little bit overpowered even. It's a bit of a trick that I don't see many people using, so I would definitely recommend working that into the way you play. Now, the next few tips I have for you guys is using risers on your optics. And initially, I didn't really see the point of this because using a riser is going to nerf your control and give you one handling. And at the end of the day, you just put the optic on the riser. So I just figured, you know, like, what's the point? But just to show you guys this one more time, if we come into the test range, you'll notice at the end of my optic here that there is a bit of metal there at the end of the gun that's visible and sort of obscuring my view. If we leave the firing range, we come in here, and instead of taking one of the optics, you scroll down and you go for, I like the multi-purpose tactical riser here, install that one, then you're going to get a couple of additional slots. So on this one, you can just go ahead and put whatever optic you want, and you can even put a laser right behind your optic here, which will be completely free and unobstructed there, which you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. You could put a laser on top here, but then it would kind of like be in the way of the optic. And you'll notice now that, first of all, the optic is completely clear. There is no bit of metal there at the end of the gun, the iron sight or whatever it was, obscuring our view. But I'll also show you guys like a before and after that you gain a little bit more screen real estate on the model of the gun as well. It's just displaying a little bit less of the model of the weapon on screen if you use a riser. Not the biggest deal in the world, but, you know, for the difference of gaining one handling and losing one control, I use this on most of my weapons, and I think it's worth it. I definitely recommend it, unless, again, you really care about having all of the control that you can get. Okay, the next thing to know about Delta Force, and especially the gunsmith, is that certain attachments will unlock other slots that you wouldn't otherwise have available. So much like with the riser unlocking additional slots for the laser, and I suppose the most obvious one is the barrel. You probably notice if you equip the long barrel that you'll get these additional slots on the rail where you can put these handguards to give you more stats. But sometimes with the rear grip here, this one here, the AR Heavy Tower Grip, you may look at the stats and think, well, they're not really that great, and that's what I initially did. I glossed over this attachment, thinking a lot of the other ones were far superior, and I guess they kind of are. But what you don't realize is that you get a new slot if you equip this grip here. So let's go ahead and equip that, and then we get the grip mount, where you can put either the balanced grip base or the stable grip base, and this one right here is one of the best attachments in the entire game due to the massive buff to stability that it gives you. I run this combination on many of my weapons here. I would say almost all of my weapons where I have it available, and it is really, really good. It doesn't just go for this slot either. Make sure you play around with the rest of the slots on the weapons, because you'd be surprised just what can be hiding in the gunsmith. Another point here as well, if we just go back quickly to the CL19, is that a lot of these slots at the front of the weapon, as you'll notice here on this one, you can equip these Ranger panels. A lot of people kind of miss out on this fact. If we unequip this, they'll equip the long barrel thinking they can only put these panels up on these. They click in here and they see a bunch of laser sights and a bunch of flashlights and think, well, I don't want any of those. But if you scroll all the way down at the bottom, here you have the panels as well. Again, this doesn't go for every single weapon. You can't always do this, but you certainly want to make sure that you go through every single slot, check all of the attachments, and make sure that you aren't missing out on anything. Okay, next little tip here is holding your breath. I know most people are going to know about this, but just on the off chance that you don't, you can press, I believe, left alt is the default to hold your breath. As you can see on the right of the screen there, I have changed my keybind to shift. I wanted to bind this to right click so that whenever I ADS'd, it would automatically hold my breath. Unfortunately, the game won't let you do that, but regardless, you definitely want to be holding your breath whenever you can, because it is going to buff your accuracy massively, and you'll be able to get these targets off all the way in the distance here, like 150 meters, without too much trouble at all, as long as you've got, of course, a good build on your weapon. It really just compounds the stability and the control attributes that your weapon has and dials it up to 11. Now, the next tip here is all about calibrating your weapon. First of all, in general, you want to make sure whenever you put on attachments that you are coming in to calibrate and calibrating the weapon. I've got a bunch of weapon guides showing you guys how to do this. We don't have this one calibrated because I've just re-equipped it. In general, though, what I like to do is put all of these sliders to the right, and that is going to give you the most stability and control, which is what you're going to want for most weapons. However, when it comes to the riser optics, I think a lot of people don't know exactly how this works. So at the moment, I have like the weapon zoom ADS effect, or what is it called here? Yeah, scope magnification adapts automatically. I have this on, and that is supposed to make it, it's essentially FOV ADS, right? So it scales your ADS to whatever your FOV is set to, but you're going to notice that with the default settings, it's still going to zoom me in a little bit here. If we leave the firing range though, you come into calibrate, go to your optic, you can get rid of the 0.25% zoom on the regular red dot sights by turning the zoom down there. And so now if we ADS, you have a full just one-to-one ADS of your regular FOV, which is really, really nice. Now, the other setting here, the pupillary distance, what this essentially does is changes how close the weapon sight is to your operator's eyes. So if you turn this down to -20, and let's just stand on this dot here, so we're sort of replicating this properly, aim right in the middle, and you can see that inside the red dot sight, we can see just almost into the side panels there, adjacent to the ones that I'm looking at. So remember that. Let's just leave the firing range, go to calibrate, turn this all the way up to +20 millimeters, go back to the same spot there, and now you're going to notice that it is a lot slimmer. We can't see quite as much in the optic itself. So what I generally like to do is turn this all the way to the left so I can see a little bit more inside of the optic. Whichever target I'm aiming at is definitely not going to be obscured by the frame of the optic, but I like to turn the zoom down. This is of course going to be personal preference. It's largely going to depend on what size of a monitor you have, what resolution you're at, and all the rest of it, but that is something that you can play around with if you desire. And finally, the last tip here is going to be about avoiding Luna's annoying detection arrow. So this is the detection arrow that she fires across the battlefield. It sends out a scan when she fires it, and it pings anyone in its path. It's going to highlight you, it's going to show people you through the wall, so it's essentially like wall hacks. But what you may not know is it's also going to ping you again after a few seconds, and sometimes you will notice this pop up on your screen that says that you will be spotted if you keep moving. So while that yellow bar is charging up effectively, if you move at any point during that charge, you will be spotted a second time. So sometimes it is smart to actually stay put and not move at all, but obviously that can also be a bit of a death sentence. If somebody's coming around a corner and you're just frozen still, that's not going to be great for you either. So you sort of got to make a decision. Do you want to move and get spotted, or do you want to stay still and not get spotted? You know, maybe if you're a sniper and you're prone on the ground behind cover 200 meters away from the enemy, you're better just staying prone and not moving so you don't get spotted and people don't realize where you are. Then again, if you're running and gunning, you've got an SMG and you're on the objective, you might want to move regardless. So there you go, guys. Those are some of the little tips and tricks, just little quirks in the game that I found out through playing, testing it, messing around with it, that I think a lot of you will probably know. Hopefully you at least learn one of them that's new, because I know the game's not super new or anything. A lot of you who watch my videos have been playing already for a month or two, but on the off chance that there's somebody brand new watching this, or somebody who just didn't realize these things, hopefully some of this helped you guys out. Let me know if you have any additional tips and tricks down below of your own in the comments. I'm sure everybody watching would appreciate reading those as well. If you did find this video useful, leave a like below, subscribe for more Delta Force, and I'll see you guys in the next one.